Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar this evening, but we don't 100% know where everyone's zooming in from. So to start off, because we do want this to be a useful and engaging webinar for everyone, we want everyone to get something out of this. So to start us off, can you please all write in the chat box either where you're zooming in from, what you're most looking forward to when starting your new position this year. Maybe it's a new curriculum you're going to be teaching, maybe it's a new position or a new city. Whatever it might be, who can kick us off, either where you're zooming in from or what you're most looking forward to when starting your new position. And if everyone can just make sure they're muted, that would be brilliant. So there's no background noise, please. Okay, fantastic. We've got Will online from Shanghai. Staying at his school, I think reconnecting with the students after a long summer holiday. We've got someone from Cape Town, South Africa, Samantha in Beijing, Stella in Nanjing. I recognise that name. I think Stella was with us last week. Welcome back. And hopefully we can help with that. Oh, welcome Nicole from South Africa as well. Wow, from Australia. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. That's a long way. But
Great to have you with us.
Oh, and Thailand.
Hi, Emmanuel. Lovely to meet you.
Brilliant. Oh, congratulations, Jess. Starting a new admissions role. I'm sure that's going to be exciting. So I think more people are going to join us as we go, but we do want to try and keep this webinar to an hour for you because we do appreciate your time. And many of you have already started and will be eager to probably finish and get back to work tomorrow. I'm just going to reshare my screen because I'm not sure why there's a red line on there and we don't want that for the whole time. So just 1 second.
Fantastic. Look at that. Amazing.
Yeah, it's gone. Phew. Okay, so today's webinar is all about trying to give everyone some tips, advice, and strategies for putting their best foot forward when starting their new positions. Like I said, some of you might have already started. Joe, who's joining us, who'll introduce himself in a moment, first day was today. So thank you very much for joining us, even though I'm sure that was very hectic. But it's all about how can you start off with the best, with your best foot forward, make a great first impression, but also enjoy it. Enjoy the process. This webinar is brought to you by Totally Teach and Leading Your International School. So with further ado, I'll quickly introduce myself. My name's Rowena. I'm the owner of Totally Teach. We've been going for just over 7 years now. Started in China, and what we do is we help foreign teachers and bilingual Chinese teachers now find teaching and leadership positions in China and now overseas, including the UAE, Thailand, Malaysia, and a few others. We believe in authentic matches and listen to what you're looking for and find the best schools that do that as well. So without further ado, I'd like to pass over to André to introduce himself.
Thank you, Rowena, and it's great to be here, and I'm looking forward to connecting with everybody in the Zoom today. It's great to see such a turnout, and you're already making such a positive step by being here and developing yourself. My name is André Double. I'm the CEO and founder of Leading Your International School. We are a member organization and international education leadership consultancy. We support, we develop, we mentor, we train leaders, international school principals, and those who aspire to become one. I travel internationally, I visit schools, I talk to principals about what it is like to be an international school principal, including Mr. Otley here. So I've just visited the ISF school, for example, in Hong Kong this week, one of our members, Oliver Kramer. So that really gives me a unique insight and a passage through the door of these schools to learn about the schools, their cultures, what they do, and how they do it. But it's great to be here, and I look forward to learning from you as well.
Brilliant. We do have Gráinne on the panel as well, but she will be with us virtually, and you'll see what I mean in a few slides. So without further ado, to pass on to Mr. Otley to introduce himself.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here on the panel. I'm really looking forward to making new connections with everybody. I look forward to doing that. Hopefully we can connect with one another after the call. So I'm Joe Otley. I'm from the UK, and I'm into my 9th year here at my current school, EtonHouse Foshan in South China, and in my 2nd year as principal. And so I've been here since very near the beginning of the school. So I've seen it go from startup phase into the established school that it is today. And I've enjoyed a really good, positive working relationship with LYIS, as well as yourself, Rowena. We have connected as well through the LYIS conference that was held in my school earlier on. So I can't recommend it enough. Thank you so much for inviting me to the call and getting me involved.
Fantastic. So quickly, what we're going to go through today, we have, as I say, we've got André, Joe, and Gráinne to contribute to this. So I'm really hoping that everyone gets something that they can use. The do's and the don'ts, what can you do positively when you're starting at a new school? We're going to hear from Gráinne and her extensive experience, including startup schools, because that's a whole different beast. And then André as well, bringing us in, some actionable points of what you can do when you are joining somewhere completely new. I'm going to go through the external factors that can contribute to how you feel in a new city, how welcomed you feel in a new school, and then we will go on to questions. Please feel free to pop them in the chat box, and you'll be able to ask any of us anything. And then very exciting, at the end, we do have another Wheel of Fortune winner announcement. So Rose will be popping everyone's names that's on the call now into our name generator, and we'll do that live. And what you win is a free 60-minute career consultation with André himself, and which includes a LinkedIn overhaul, which I had personally, and it was very, very useful. And if you need to stay until the end for your name to be announced, otherwise we spin again. So good luck, everyone. Everyone's names will be being put in now. And let's kick off with André just giving us a bit of an overview of LYIS.
Thank you, Rowena. So our mission is all about leveling up. So what does leveling up mean? Some of you may be aware of some data that CIS published about 2 or 3 years ago in terms of the divide between male and female international school principals, 80% of which are male and only 20% at this time are female. So we strongly advocate for the process of leveling up, but we want to do so through an understanding that everybody counts. Everybody deserves to be developed. And no matter what age, no matter what stage, where you are from, our mission is to support that process of leveling up. We're all about innovation. We're all about doing things differently. And one of the things that we're doing differently this year is to have a specific bespoke international school leadership qualification. We realize that the way that we train our school leaders around the world does need to change. There is a bit of a rebrand that needs to go ahead. So we are looking at how we can train our leaders in terms of the context that they are working in, the skills, the educational backgrounds, the curriculums. You know, we have lots of different formats of curriculum. We have IB curriculum, AP, and many of you will be working in curriculums that are dual, bilingual curriculums. So you'll be tasked with knitting those curriculums together. So we think leadership really needs to be broad, it needs to be balanced, but it needs to take into consideration the context where you are. Underpinning what we do as an organization are three values: ethical leadership, opportunity, and sustainability. So from an ethical standpoint of view, we believe that policies, practices should support our mission from schools in terms of levelling up. We want to see schools trying to address issues of bias, issues where people may not be able to be promoted or to aspire to become a leader. Opportunity underpins is our central value, and leadership particularly should not be the preserve of the few. It should be open to everybody, again, at every stage of their career. And even if you don't hold a title, as we may hear later, there are still opportunities for you to take part and benefit from leadership. And then finally, we believe that leading ethically, presenting opportunity for staff, underpinning those two values is our final value of sustainability, where leaders really need to think, act, articulate, and manage their schools. Sustainability, from a sustainability point of view, so we can really start to think in the longer term, taking a longer term approach, particularly as you're here now in issues of recruitment and retention. Thanks, Rowena.
Brilliant. Thanks, André. And that's definitely why we were so eager to partner with LYIS, because that is what Totally Teach recognises too and wants to make a difference and to help educators all around the world. So without further ado, I'll pass on to Mr. Otley, the do's and the don'ts from an international school principal in China.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will be focusing more on the do's that and keeping it positive in nature, I think, for this topic. So you can see on the screen here, I've got a number of pointers. I won't touch upon every single one or in that order necessarily, but I do want to expand on one or two of them. But before I get into any of the points there on the screen, I would like to start with what I feel is the most important aspect of when you join a new school. And inevitably, naturally, there's going to be sort of jitters and worries when you come into a new school, uncertainties. It's a new environment with new colleagues to meet. And then you couple that with potentially jet lag, a lack of sleep. You've moved to a new city. It's a lot all at once. It can be quite tough, those first couple of days. And it's very tempting to sort of jump in at the deep end and try to get involved in every single conversation and find out as much as you can on the first day. I would urge you just to take stock of the situation, take a breath, take it step by step. Know that it's going to be a process. You're not going to have settled in completely in the first day or even the first week. It's going to take time. And I think if you keep that in the back of your mind, you'll have a very positive experience. It's also very tempting to over-caffeinate in those situations. So a bit of practical advice, I would avoid that on the first day of inset when you're especially tired. So yeah, I think in addition to that, I think it's worth reminding yourself that you've been hired for your expertise, for your talent, and for your particular skill set, and you deserve a seat at the table. You're in your new school. You can put any doubts away, any sort of feeling of imposter syndrome or anything like that. You're here, you're in the school, and your voice and opinions and perspective are just as valuable as someone who's been at the school for a number of years. And in some instances, more valuable, I would argue, but we'll get into that later on. So yeah, whilst I do recommend you start off with a calm and an open mind, and you take stock and you take in the culture and you settle in, don't stay in that mentality for too long. It's very important that you do get stuck in once you feel settled. I would encourage you to then take the opposite approach and be active, actively and professionally curious. Find out as much as you can. So getting into some of the pointers here, I've got one there about asking questions, being curious, not silent. So even if you're joining a school that has clear systems and transparent communication in place, there's always going to be gaps in that information. As much as any great school strives to inform you of everything that's new, or there'll be things that will get missed along the way, and that's completely normal. There'll be aspects that maybe they haven't considered for someone who's just moved over to the country or to the city. So I would encourage you to ask questions. It doesn't make you look unprepared. Asking questions doesn't mean that you don't know what you're doing. I would argue quite the opposite. I really appreciate when new members of my teaching team come to me or anyone else in the building and go to other members of staff and ask them questions. It shows that you really want to get involved and that you care about doing things properly and doing them well. So I would appreciate that. Don't hold back and think, oh, they're going to think less of me because this is something I should really know in this role. Not at all. You've already been hired. Time to ask questions and find out. Learning who does what, really important part of joining a new team. It goes beyond just your direct colleagues or perhaps other teachers in the same year group. It extends to HR, premises, your principals, deputies, heads of year, the administrative team. And again, like I mentioned, I'm sure your school would do a fantastic job of sharing who is who and introducing you to everyone. But those first few days are hectic. It's a lot to take in. So I would say go out of your way to interact with those people. Go beyond just the introduction, go and seek them out. Go and see the head of premises before you have an issue that needs to be fixed, before bringing a problem to them. Foster a positive relationship, have that communication, that open dialogue before you need help with something. And that's not just about sort of currying favor or building guanxi or something like that. It's just, it shows a real appreciation for what they do, because I think it's important when you're coming into a new school to be respectful and appreciative of those people who help us and help organize the day-to-day running of the school. Sometimes behind the scenes, they're not particularly front of house, but in many instances, they are the very backbone of the school. They're what keeps the school ticking along. Really important that you support them and they know that you are someone they can rely on and will come to them positively and with solutions and not just problems. So I would focus on building up those strong relationships from day one. Go and chat to them. Go up to their office. Introduce yourself again after you've gone through the inset or the training sessions or the welcome dinner. Go and have a chat and build that relationship. Connected to that is not hiding in the background. And it might feel, polite to, because you're new on the scene, to sort of take a step back. You might be afraid of stepping on toes or raising your voice, or again, going back to the questions thing, looking uncertain. But that can have a negative impact on your understanding, and it limits your impact in the school. If you're I would hope you're in a school that encourages collaboration, that has open channels for dialogue, and you have principals you can go to and you can ask questions and raise issues and concerns. But speaking up early helps you settle in faster, makes you feel part of that team. And I had a great example of that just today. For many reasons, we had a member of staff who was unable to join us until very late. They just joined us a couple of days ago, so they missed the first few days of inset and the training. But that didn't prevent this individual from putting themselves forward for an application that we have, an unopened position. And I really appreciate that it's If you see an opportunity and you think that's something I could help with at the school, you jump on that and you put yourself forward, even though you are new to the school. Don't let that hold you back from helping out and being a positive impact on the school's culture. So here I'm talking about getting involved, join the discussions and help with tasks, shadow another colleague to find out how things are done in the school, even if it's beyond your role, as it were, especially in a startup environment. Those roles, though they're defined on paper, you often find that you wear many hats as a new teacher, and you are expected to do a lot around the school to help out. But I would say be proactive in doing that and put yourself forward, because it shows a willingness to participate, but also that's the best way to learn, is by being involved. And that shows your investment in the school. Okay, moving on to the policy aspect of school. Inevitable when you join a new school, there will be a session on policy. And ideally you're in a great school that makes policy open and available, rather than this is the final PDF that you were presented with, and here's the rules, and here's how it works at our school. There is always an element of that, but ideally you're in a school that is open to policy review. And even if not, I would urge you to speak up on any concerns you have or questions about a policy. That's the best way to find out how it really works, because a policy is more than just a document. It really speaks to the culture of the school, the philosophy of the school, and beyond just the day-to-day operations, but really what is the feeling? What are we trying to achieve? What is our mission at the school? All of those things are within policy. And if you aren't sure about it, you should ask, because I think if you see something that could be improved, you should say so. For me as a principal, I really value fresh perspective. An incoming member of staff is a fresh set of eyes on a policy that maybe we've had in place for a number of years. And even though we review them on a regular basis, I'm certain that you will have something fresh to offer this school. You'll have a fresh take on an existing policy. Maybe it's something you picked up, some positive practice from your previous setting, or it's something you would wish to implement, or something you'd wish to change in a school. Bring that to the table. You have a lot to offer as a new member of staff. And again, ideally that is respected by the leadership team. And if you pick up on that, it's perhaps a culture that isn't that way inclined, you can still ask the questions, because if you ask a question of a policy, it can do one of two things. You might be presented with an explanation that makes better sense to you beyond what is written there on the paper. Or if an answer can't be given, you might find that the SLT go away and ask themselves, well, someone asked me this today, and why do we do that? Are we confident in why that is in place? And it will certainly spark some conversation, either with yourself or sort of behind the scenes, and it can get things moving in a different direction. I saw that recently, actually, at a policy review session where a new member of staff asked a question about something that wasn't perhaps tightened up enough, and there was space there to improve the existing policy. And yeah, finally, I guess I kind of touched upon all of this element in most of the previous points, but just to reiterate that your voice really does matter in a new school. It might not feel like that straight away. You might think, well, who am I to raise a question about this or to challenge this? But as I mentioned already, as a new member to the team, you bring a lot to the table. It's an incredibly valuable resource. I love having new teachers in my school, because especially once you question existing practice for all of the previous reasons that I mentioned. So Thank you very much. I think I've covered most of the points of what I would like to talk about today. I hope that was of value to you, and I look forward to any answering any follow-up questions you may have later in the session. Thank you, Rowena.
Thank you very much, Joe. I think that was fantastic, and always a fresh perspective. And how does one or anyone grow if that isn't there? So I will go on now to Gráinne. So in the video, she will explain why she can't be here with us on the Zoom, but Gráinne has an extensive experience, especially with founding schools worldwide. So we will stop the video in between and just have a few comments. But it is a good video, and it's insightful with someone with an incredible amount of experience. So without further ado.
Hello there, my name is Gráinne O'Reilly, and I work with Leading Your International School, and of course with Rowena, our fabulous Rowena, our partner from Totally Teach. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person today. I'm actually undertaking 2 startups in Riyadh, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and all of you who have done a startup understand just how pressurized this time just before the startup can be. Many of you will be starting new international schools, either as teachers or as heads. All sorts of different positions will be undertaken at this time of year. And for some of you, you will actually be in startups. Now, startups are utterly brutal. People talk about them with great fondness. I do. I've done multiple startups. It really gets to the point where you think, what have I signed up to? And also, why did I ever sign up for this? All I can say to you at the moment is, if you're within a week or so of opening, is please don't give up. It really will be worth it. And you will look back on this as an extraordinary experience. And for you professionally, it will be a once in a lifetime. Some of us get addicted to startups, but generally speaking, it is a once in a lifetime experience that gives you a view of the whole running of a school that, unless one is already ahead, one would not normally have and one would not normally understand. It's something that I really do encourage everybody to do. And all I can say is, good luck to you if that's what you're going through at the moment. Make the most of it. Enjoy it when you can, and know that it will be incredibly valuable to you.
So I think quickly from our perspective as recruiters, a lot of teachers generally are quite scared when taking on a founding school position. But as Gráinne explained, and what we try and give as an option, because at the end of the day, everyone needs to be comfortable in the position that they're accepting, is the opportunities that come with joining a founding school. We have quite a few teachers joining one particular one in Shanghai, an IB school, and there's leadership opportunities, there's extracurricular, there's so many things that are offered that are not offered in other positions. And funnily enough, I want to just circle back to Mr. Otley again, because I believe Joe, Mr. Otley joined EtonHouse when Gráinne started it in Foshan in the 2nd year, was it? Mr. Otley, and could you explain a bit about your experience of literally joining a founding school?
I mean, I joined very early on. It was either the 2nd or the 3rd year of operation. Can't quite recall right now, but it was a very different school back then in many ways, in that during the startup phase, I think I touched upon this before on my slide, that you do find yourself jumping into situations beyond just your classroom and helping out all over the place. But for me, that was a real positive, because I got to learn from so many different people. I wasn't just, I don't mean it in that way, a classroom teacher, but I wore many hats. I helped out with meeting with parents, sometimes literally physically cleaning the floors. You get involved in every aspect of the school. So I found that very beneficial because I went from a bilingual school, so a typical Chinese school, into an international school. And with that, there were a lot of changes and a lot of things for me to learn. So I relished all of the opportunities that the startup phase provided, that I could get stuck into everything in the school and also make an impact as well. Something else I was touching upon earlier, you get to share your voice and your perspective during that startup phase because you're part of building that school culture.
Fantastic. And I think you obviously did make a positive impact being now head of the school only a few years later. So thank you. I'll continue with, and Gráinne is going to touch upon colleagues now.
I'm often asked about how to be a good colleague. Look, being a good colleague is really just, considering other people's needs. We all need to be good colleagues. It doesn't matter what your position is. It's considering other people's needs and I feel putting them before your own at times. And it's about asking questions, and it's about really observing and finding out what goes on and what are the norms, what are the professional norms, what are the social norms, how do people behave. Even if you're in the same country, moving from school to school will be considerable. And certainly in China, I had the experience of a number of staff members moving from bilingual schools into a real international school. And that was a very big change for them. They overcame those obstacles very, very quickly because, first of all, they were incredibly professional. They were the most wonderful practitioners, but also they really observed, they listened, and they asked question after question after question. And they never assumed that they knew everything. And I think even as a head, when you go into a new school or you start a new position somewhere, I think it's very important to be really clear about the fact that you don't know everything. In fact, when you start a new job, pretty much you don't know anything, even as a principal, even as somebody who's coming in as the leader. It takes time to find out. And we do need to step back. We do need to be humble. We do need to listen. And we need to let other people show us the way. And I have to say, over 40, goodness, I've lost count now, years of professional practice, both national and international, all over the world, I've never been in a school where people didn't respond well to being asked questions, in a genuine and humble and authentic manner, and where they wouldn't jump to help you. So, being a good colleague means finding your way round, being humble, remembering that we don't know it all. In fact, we may know very little, and asking people to help us, and then graciously and gratefully receiving and acting upon advice. It's amazing what people will do when you show a little bit of gratitude. Saying thank you means a lot, and it doesn't matter which culture you're in or which culture you come from. Everybody appreciates that.
So I'll just quickly jump to André with this one. What does being a good colleague mean to you? And how were you a good colleague when you were in your school settings?
I think time is the most valuable currency that we have. So if we want to show others that we are serious, if we're intentional, if we mean what we say, then we have to invest the time into developing those relationships. Look, many of us are going to be busy here in the call. We're going to be wanting to get our classrooms up to scratch. We're going to be wanting to delve into the inner sanctums of the curriculum, what we're teaching, when we're teaching. We're going to be wanting to get our classrooms in tip-top shape. But alongside that, I want to encourage people to think, can you do those things? Can you make that journey a process in which you do that with other people? Can other people join you? Can you help somebody to develop their classroom, put posters on their boards, make their classroom an enjoyable space? alongside them. So what you do and how you do it, how you build that culture, invariably links back to the time that you are able to put into it. Being a good colleague to me is listening, having the time to listen to, and you may not always like what you hear. You may not feel that you have the time to listen, but if you don't have the immediate time to listen, think about whether you can come back to that person. Can you find a space for them? Listen, learn, reflect, improve, and be the best colleague that you would want other people to be to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Andre. And we'll finish the video now.
I would also say to you, especially if you've
Rowena, you've muted, so we can't hear your video.
watch the world go by will give you so much more understanding in terms of the local culture. Really get to know and support the local staff members. Local staff members, whichever country you're in, those local staff members, they are the backbone of every international school. And regardless of your position, set out to be incredibly respectful to your local staff members, whatever their positions may be. Make sure that you are incredibly respectful and grateful to your local staff members, because they will actually be taking on a lot of things that you won't yet understand and for which you will be very grateful over time. So try and get used to doing things on your own, take their advice, listen to them, avail yourself of anything that the school organises, or indeed the wider international community. Most of the places that people go to international schools, they will have maybe a chamber of commerce, they might have a local organisation that is to support expats and foreigners. And one piece of advice I would give is try really hard not to take offence, and please assume good intent. I've lived in a lot of countries where I have attracted unwarranted attention. Now, I'm not talking about unsafe experiences, you know, women, all people, everybody, but women in particular do have to put that first. But as a woman, I have merited what I would feel is unwanted attention, very often from other women and from older people. They weren't in any way threatening, but it can be irritating when it's all the time, or when you're constantly being assailed by people who are trying to practice their English on you. I have to say, if you can turn that round and see that as a benefit, and see it as one of the pleasures of being in an international school, and sometimes that can be tough, but if you can see that as a pleasure and an opportunity to perhaps broaden your reach in the local community, it will be of great value to you. So take every opportunity that you are offered to get to know where you are living, you know, your local area, your wider area, and indeed the country, its culture, its beliefs, and amend your behaviour accordingly. Don't forget, we're the guests. This isn't our country. So we always want to remember that it is a privilege to be where we are.
Brilliant. So Gráinne, with her extensive experience, is just one person that you have access to in the LYIS community. And I think we can all agree that was some fantastic advice and insights.
Hello there.
Which we're not going to go through again. But and so we move on to André, who's going to tell us what's really worth knowing, some actionable points of what can teachers do when they step through those front doors of their new school.
Thank you, Rowena, and thank you very much to Gráinne as well for that fabulous interlude there. managing expectations, I want to encourage everybody to think about this as a two-way process. This is a reciprocal agreement that you have with your school. So you may feel, and some people feel, that this is a one-way process whereby the school sets expectations to you. I want you to try to flip that, almost in the flip learning model, and to say to you that what expectations do you have of the school? How are you going to communicate them? How are you going to challenge the school in a respectful and professional manner to try and deliver on some of those expectations? Many people find it hard, they find it challenging, but it's best to set those expectations upon others right from the start. Establish clear routines. What time do you want to get into work in the morning? If you're arriving at 8:30 and school starts at 8:45, what impression are you giving to your colleagues? Now, I understand that you may have childcare responsibilities. I understand that there may be situations where some people have to arrive late. But if you are arriving right at the final bell, if you are arriving to a class and you are setting up when other colleagues are already set up, they're planned and prepared, what personal branding image are you giving to your colleagues and your team? We've talked about norms, the behavioral norms. How do you want to be presented in meetings? Are you the type of colleague that listens? Are you the type of colleague that synthesizes information from other people before you try to connect it and get across your own point of view? Are you able to be changed? Are you open to having your point of view changed on teaching practice? And this is something that you may need to, because your school may have a different model of what they think good teaching practices is. So you need to be open, you need to be malleable, you need to be able to look at different approaches to pedagogy, different approaches to curriculum design, different approaches to teaching. How are you going to communicate with parents? In China, a massive, massive issue. Are you going to make yourself available at 24/7? And in doing so, potentially put yourself, your school, and your colleagues under strain? Are you going to allow parents to contact you in the vain idea that you're doing a good job being available to them? What boundaries are you going to set for yourself? What's my school's mission and vision and values? How do I embody it? What actions in my teaching do I foster it? Do I articulate it? And more importantly, how do my students embody the mission, vision, and values of the school? So that when somebody comes into my classroom, they can know within a few minutes of being in that classroom what learner profile and characteristics those students represent. If a colleague comes into that classroom and they talk to one of my students, what type of language, what conversation do I want that child to have that best represents the mission, vision, and values of the school? What is being a team player? How can I be a team player? How can I support my colleagues to grow? Do I have strengths that I can bring to the table? And if so, how? And how can I identify and support the strengths in others, develop them, showcase them, promote them, congratulate people when they are successful? And it's great to have Joe here, because I fundamentally believe that everybody should be finding the time to arrange to meet the principal on a personal level. Now, principals are very busy people. They'll be dealing with marketing. They'll be dealing with the school strategy. They'll be dealing with all sorts of operational issues. But I would want to meet the principal in the first 8 to 12 weeks of being at that school, to meet on a personal level, to get to know that principal, to learn about their vision for the school and what I can do to support that vision and mission. How can I be a part of what the principal sees as the future for that school? Remember, you carry the culture. You are a culture carrier. So how you conduct yourself, how you dress, how you talk, how you interact with students, how you walk the corridors, how you mark your work, whether you walk past a piece of rubbish on the floor because you think it's not my responsibility, or whether there are areas of your job description that you think you should not have responsibility for, that is your personal brand, and it is always on display. Thanks, Rowena.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, André. Now, just onto your leadership.
Yeah, so this week, for those of you that follow me on LinkedIn, just a bit of a personal plug there. If you don't, I won't be offended. But I actually wrote an article about how to make the most of leadership opportunities that might present yourselves at your school. I don't know about you, but certainly I've been in a school where I've waited for those leadership opportunities to arrive. I've waited for them to be advertised. I've waited for that formal process. But leadership is one of those great things that you don't have to wait for it. As Gráinne always reminds me, and I'm sure she's reminded Joe many times, do the job without the title. So there are a multitude of things that you can be doing to develop your leadership career from the moment that you set foot and even before. So standing at the school gate, okay, that's a leadership process. That's visibility. That's being a visible leader. Supporting your colleagues, co-teaching a lesson, saying to a colleague, look, I'm available. I have a free afternoon. Please schedule me in as a TA. I'd love to come and help you. I'd love to support you and your students. Please use me in the best manner that you can. At the beginning of the year, assessment is always a key practice in schools. We assess students' reading, writing levels. Volunteer to be part of the reading levels assessment program. Ask how you can help your colleagues. But remember the golden rule: when you do something for someone, do not do it in the expectation that something is going to be done for you. When we lead, we never expect things in return. We do it because of the intrinsic motivation that it gives us, the reward, the sense of service that we do and give to other people. Think about any other opportunities that there are: setting up a team, being part of a league, connecting with schools and people who are in your job in similar schools. Can you organize, for example, a job alike? Can you meet people in social networks who are doing the same role as you are and find out what that role looks like from their perspective in their school, either going to their school or liaising with your senior leadership team about whether you can bring colleagues to your school? Many schools set up student leadership councils. Can you be part of it? If you are not having responsibility for it, is there a component within that criteria that you can lead on? Think about sustainability. Are there initiatives within the school that you can support? Again, you know yourself hopefully better than anyone. So if you have particular skills, if you have a business background, if you have a marketing background, if you've worked in finance or industry, really think about the ways that you can bring those skills out and you can lead, support, and develop people around those skills. So just to summarize, remember, leadership, so often we assume that it's a process that happens to us, but it's actually an ongoing process that we can start, we can develop, and we can really contribute to our school's mission and direction.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, André. So what we've covered so far from André, Joe, and Gráinne is a lot of once you're at the school. Once you're there and post, it's what you can do, what you can implement to have a good experience. What I want to touch upon is actually the before that can affect how you feel once you've arrived. There are a lot of external factors, which it's coming from a slightly different perspective now. It's coming from obviously us at Totally Teach, the recruitment side. What we've seen over the years happen And when these things happen and there's additional stress and there's negative experiences, that obviously will affect how you feel when you're in your new city, your new school, and your position. So trying to set yourself up in the best way to walk through those doors and implement everything that you've heard so far in this webinar. But you can only do that if you're feeling the best you can and in a secure way. So obviously relocating, that's the first step, along with the kind of visa process, which is always, you kind of hold your breath in China and think, hope it's going to all be okay. But with relocating, what I would say is just check with your school. Are they providing you with a relocation allowance? If they are, fantastic. If they are, do you need to provide a fapiao, an invoice? And if so, what are the details you need to provide them with? Because you don't want to have paid out of your own pocket. You can get a reimbursement, but you don't have the details and you're out of pocket. And again, that ties into what is also on this slide about financial planning. Relocating as well, which we've seen a lot, especially this year, is pets. It's becoming more and more important to people. And I know some people on the call now, they have more than one pet. And that can also, trying to get your dog or cat across China is not a super straightforward process, and it can be eased for sure, but you don't want that stress either and worry when you're arriving and when you're trying to think about your lessons and your students and whatnot. So just put into place, know what you're doing, know how much your school is supporting you with relocating. And if they're not, your recruiter can. This isn't just Totally Teach. There are other recruitment companies out there. Someone should and needs to support you in this. If you're a China seasoned professional, that's fine, but that can add a huge amount of stress when you are changing schools. Visa process and the expectations of HR. I've seen this multiple times where it ties in with what everyone has said so far. It's about managing expectations. How involved is the HR? Are they going to hold your hand throughout the entire process? Are they going to be communicative throughout the entire thing? Or are they new? Are they new to the role? And unfortunately, they've been thrown in the deep end and they know, oh, I need this extra piece of paper, or it's a last minute thing, and that can add to your stress as well. But as Gráinne said, to always assume good intent, that maybe there is something going on. You never know what someone else is going through professionally or personally, but the visa process, in knowing, okay, is my work permit sorted? That's the first step. Is my residence permit then changed, especially with a new province? What does my old school need to do to facilitate this transfer for my new school? Do they need to be communicating? Do they not? And at each step, just be checking. And again, that takes a lot of self-management to know, but if you don't know, you don't know. So make sure to check, okay, what's the process? What's actually going to happen here? With housing, okay, two options. You normally get a housing allowance from the school or a free apartment. If it's a free apartment, do check, do ask for pictures, do make sure that you're going into an apartment that you're happy with. You don't want to have done all of this. You've got your visa, you've got all your stuff, all your pets, all your family, whoever it might be, and you get there and the apartment's not at all what you expected it to be. It's the one thing I think that everyone wants sorted as quickly as possible so that they can start settling in. And your home environment is really, really important to be able to decompress after work and to have a clear mind for the next day. If it's a housing allowance, do check. Obviously, it's in your contract and everything, but again, the fapiao situation, it has changed now in China in terms of that landlords need to apply. Some landlords won't. And again, you just need to be aware of this so that, again, you're not out of pocket or you're not ending up almost, negotiating with the school again and kind of putting it onto them, because no one wants that. You go in, okay, this is my salary, this is my housing, these are my benefits, and you don't want that to change once you're already there, having gone through everything already. The same with financial planning. Just make sure that there's a little bit extra there as and when you can for unexpected events. We have had it where teachers need to ask the school to help them financially. And although some schools are willing and happy to do so, it does change the dynamic slightly if you're a new teacher starting and that's already what you're asking for. So it's not that it's out of reach or impossible, but if you can put things in place beforehand, and as I just mentioned, all the other things, it will put you in a better stead, I would say. Social interest, sports groups. So ask if there's WeChat groups you can join. There's WeChat groups for every city. If you're sporty, there's sports groups, running clubs, badminton, hiking groups. That just so that you can feel, as Gráinne said, if you're joining a school by yourself, I think that that's also really important. You will have work colleagues, and that's fantastic. But I think it's good to have a wide variety of people to socialise with and not just the ones at work. And again, your recruiter can help with this or should help with this. If they are, I would say, experienced in China, they will have connections networks. Even if they're connecting you with another teacher they've placed in the city, it might not be at the same school, but they might also be in the same position. And to be able to do that, I think starts to grow your support network and makes you feel more settled. And the last thing I would say is just communicate. I know that it's something sometimes difficult. You just want to put your head in the sand and think, oh, is this right? What have I done? But things can always be solved. People are here to help. Your school is here to help. They want to keep you. You've just joined. The same with your recruiters. They want you to have a good experience. So utilize your network and do so by communicating and updating it every step of the way, because you never know who might have the right contact that can help you and make you feel positive, confident, and excited to join your new school. So that's it from me, and we're going to go on to a Q&A. So whilst you pop your questions in the chat box, we did have a couple of questions come in, and one that I think got some really good reactions in the chat is what qualities do principals value now most in teachers and staff? So I think Joe, being an active principal, would you mind taking this one? What do you value most in teachers when you're recruiting these days?
Yeah, thank you. Am I on? Is it on?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, André covered a lot of that when he talked about how to be a great colleague. Those are qualities that I look for, to use the cliched phrase of being a team player, but that is huge. That's paramount. When I'm looking at hiring someone, I'm looking at how they fit in. And that's not just to say that they are the same as everyone who's already there and have the same perspectives, far from it, but it's someone who can be adaptability, I guess, is what I'm looking for there. Ability to go with the flow and sort of adapt to the new environment whilst also bringing in fresh perspective. And to sort of expand upon that, there was another question in there that I saw about how you don't want to come across as a know-it-all, and then on the other side of that, on the end of the spectrum, you don't want to look like you don't know what you're doing. I can't remember exactly how it was phrased, but it was in there.
I think it was from Stella. That was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one. I think that speaks to the environment you've joined as well. If your curiosity is being received as you not knowing what you're doing, I would have some flags would come up for me about the institution you've joined, but also in the way you phrase those things. Being professionally curious is very different from asking something that maybe you should know. I think it's about how you phrase that and how it comes across, but it also speaks to the environment. But qualities I would look for, to get back to that question about being able to adapt to the environment. But above all else, the first and most important thing I'm looking for is it's someone who genuinely loves children. There's nothing more important than that. You can have the most incredible CV and you can have PhDs from all over the world. if you don't know how to connect with children on their level and spark their interests and engage with them on their level and inspire them because you love working with them, it doesn't matter, you know, about your resume. It really doesn't. It's those things are important, of course, don't get me wrong, but you need to be someone who genuinely has a passion for it. And that comes through a conversation, not just in the interview phase, but in the questions you ask at the end of the interview as well, about things that you can do. What can you bring to the school? And bringing every question back to the same point of what can I do that will benefit the child, benefit the children in the school. So when you're asking questions, you're doing it because you want to have a positive impact on the children in the school, the only and the most important thing in your school. So every time you challenge something, like I mentioned earlier, in a policy, maybe you don't quite agree with it, you're doing so from that angle, that you're doing it in the interests of the child. So that's what I'm looking for, people who are genuinely passionate about their role and want to make a difference and want to improve the lives of the students that they are in charge of.
Brilliant. Thank you, Joe. I'll quickly jump on. Thank you, Will, for your housing question. I think this is a big thing. For sure, your school or recruiter does need to communicate this for overseas teachers, especially not knowing. But even when you're moving within China, when you do need to rent a new apartment, there is a big upfront cost. It is 3 months rent deposit, and it's why a lot of teachers do opt or ask for free apartment or free accommodation to be provided. But one is the communication. So if the teacher's aware of this, obviously, hopefully 6 months out, then they can plan financially for such costs. The other thing is, I spoke to a couple of housing agents and they can negotiate with the landlords. The landlords might not always require 3 months rent. It is common, and they, you know, it's so with everything, but it is negotiable. And I think that's, again, important for people to know so that they can even ask the agent that at the time. And the other thing that teachers need to be aware of is obviously you need to wait a certain amount of time for your first paycheck, but within that paycheck comes the housing allowance reimbursement. So again, financially planning on, oh, okay, I will get that housing allowance back as well as my salary, and just finding out, okay, then how many months am I still needing to be repaying? Some schools will help as well financially, but again, I think it's all about communication and planning up front, because without that, it's very difficult to come up with those sorts of sums of money last minute, unless it's from support from family and friends. But I think it's a really good question and something that teachers do need to be made aware of, whether it's from the school or their recruiters. So thank you, Will. That's a great question. We did have a question that came in as well. What strategies do you recommend for breaking the ice and fostering authentic connections with students? So I don't know, Andre, if you'd like to take that, or Joe.
Sure, yeah. I think the more we learn about students, the more we are seen to be learning about students, the more that we can demonstrate that we care. So, you know, a good icebreaker sometimes that I get students, or I've done students in the past, is to try to present themselves in a series of questions. And you can share those questions out. And those questions are staged, they're progressive. They reveal more about that student. So you're trying to guess who they are. So for example, I am from, or these are my hobbies, or etc., etc. These are where I sit in the class. So you're kind of scaffolding that information. You're allowing children to be comfortable with who they are, with what they share, but you're also kind of fostering that little bit of that little bit of inquiry amongst children. Icebreakers, hopefully you'll get the chance to find out about your students. So by finding out about your students, you can kind of posit, you can develop, you can use that information really to design some practices. You know, you might have some province-wide badminton players, for example. You might have some choristers, you might have some people that are grade 8 violin. So really, I'd encourage you, do your research, get your homework, really get that information out of your students and then use that information to kind of support, develop and grow their interests. Hope that helps.
Fantastic. And just in the interest of time, I think we can move on, but a summary of the session will be sent to everyone as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now for the exciting part of the webinar, which is for Rose to do our name generator. You ready, Rose?
Yeah, I'll share my screen. Yeah, it's the moment we've all been waiting for, I'm sure. Okay, here we go. Okay. Can you see it?
Oh, yep, all the names.
Okay, ready? Here we go. Let's reveal our lucky winner.
Okay, and the winner is of 60-minute career consultation and LinkedIn overhaul. Oh, Joel!
Congratulations, Joel.
Congratulations. If Joel can leave his contact details with yourselves, then I can get in contact with Joel. Joel, I really look forward to working with you and supporting you and hearing about what's coming up for you in the next academic year.
Brilliant. I think Joel's going to email me after the webinar anyway, so I'll connect you both. But congratulations. Well done, Joel. You won. Brilliant. Right. If you stop sharing, Rose, and I will finish off.
Here we go.
Thank you. Okay. So just the last few slides for everyone, and then we will let you go and have your dinner or lunch or wherever you are in the world, is just to say, if you liked some of the content that was in the webinar today, you saw the kind of calibre of people that are involved with LYIS, then please do consider becoming a member. If you sign up through Totally Teach, you get 15 months instead of 12 months. And there's people that you get access to, conferences, qualifications, as André mentioned, workshops, support. It's a fantastic network to be involved in, and I can speak from personal experience, even not as from a teaching role. And I think we've got Joseph on the call. I hope you like being the poster boy, Joseph, there for the membership sign up. So if anyone would like to join, then scan the QR codes, or there will be an email in just the next slide where you can sign up. Just a quick one. No problem. And just a quick one, we have our last webinar in our Back to School series next Thursday. It's our final one with the Bank of East Asia, who are implementing some exciting initiatives for expats specifically. So sending money overseas, having mobile banking services, being able to open bank accounts in person at a location of your choosing, not the bank, for half a day, which is quite exciting. For schools, it's amazing. They can go to your school and open accounts for all your teachers in one go. You don't have to send the HR with everyone individually. So same thing, if you'd like to register next week, there will be Joanne and Peter giving a presentation. And I must say, we've met them in person, we've had people sign up, and it is a great service. You have a personal account manager on WeChat that speaks English, and it's I think what we've all been waiting for, possibly in China. So if you'd like to join us next week, Thursday, same time, please do register. We'll send the same things as we did this week. And that's it from us. Just a little bit over, but I think we did well. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone that attended. We do really appreciate your time. A huge thank you to André, Joe and Gráinne for their valuable insights, and seasoned professionals that we can all take something from, I am sure. So here are the contact details. Scan, follow, email. We are all here to support you on your journey and find you the best matches possible in China.
Rowena,
leadership.
Sorry. I was going to say we must thank you as well. I was slightly earlier there. Please forgive me, but I think from everybody that's on the Zoom, from me, from Joe, to you, to Rose, to everybody at the team, I think you've done a tremendous job in getting this webinar together and the series that you're working on. I think it's going to be such a valuable and needed for resource for teachers as well. So kudos to you. Well done. Keep it going.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. So that's it from us. And I hope you all have very enjoyable evenings, days, and a fantastic end to your week as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.